Okay, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Hey, everybody, welcome. We're in the Fox Business Studios here in DC. Oh, wait, wrong show. Actually, we're live here at DisrupTV. Welcome, everybody. We're going to do some quick introductions, and we're going to go in our traditional reverse order, and everyone's going to talk a little about where they're calling in from, what they're going to talk about today. We're going to start with Jonathan Reichental. What's going on today? Where are you calling in from?
Hey, Ray, it's great to be back on, by the way. It's lovely to see you and Vala. I'm in just south of San Francisco, actually, in Silicon Valley here. And today I'm going to be talking with my co-author about a brand new book we're bringing out, which is about smart cities, and it's targeted for children. So I can't wait to share more about that with you.
Great. And Brett, where are you calling in from as well?
Hi. Yes, thank you for having me here. I'm Brett Hoffstadt, calling in from Sacramento, California, and honored and thrilled to be working with Jonathan on our book, Exploring Smart Cities for Kids, an activity and coloring book.
Woohoo, smart cities for kids. All right. And we've got Jody. Where are you calling in from? What are you talking about today?
Yeah, I'm Jody Glidden. I'm calling in from Miami, and we're going to be talking about how we're applying AI to revenue.
Oh, sorry, we got a little sound glitch here. We'll figure out what's going on, Jody. We'll see if we can fix that for a little bit, your scheduling. And then, of course, we got Aaron. Aaron, what are you calling in about? What's new with you? Welcome.
Hey, Ray, out here in the Valley. Good to see you. I will talk about anything you want to, but certainly the future of content management in the cloud is what we're pretty focused on, but whatever you want to go into, you and Vala.
Awesome. Hey, wonderful. Thanks for having here with my awesome co-host, Vala Afshar. Our producer, Elle, please do the honors, and we'll kick off the show. And while she's doing that, thanks to Robots and Pencils and IFS for sponsoring everybody here on DisrupTV.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar, Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce, and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on Twitter at DisrupTV Show. Send Ray, myself, our distinguished guest, your questions live using hashtag DisrupTV, and we'll do our best to answer them during the show. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He's the CEO, founder of Constellation Research, best-selling author of Disrupting Digital Business, and on a world book tour of his new book that's going to officially launch July 13th, but you can pre-order now. Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Surviving and Thriving in a World of Digital Giants. By the way, Ray was in Boston a couple of days ago. Thanks, that was an awesome book launch. Got a chance to be in person with 20 CXOs, and that was great. You can follow Ray and watch him on Technology Business TV. He's on Bloomberg, Fox Business, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, and he's also a global sought-after keynote speaker, and in my humble opinion, one of the top features to follow on Twitter at RWA and G0. Welcome, Ray, to DisrupTV.
Hey, Val, it's so great to see you again. It's so nice to see you in the flesh a few days ago. Vala Afshar, everyone knows, is Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce, but more importantly, he's also an author, The Pursuit of Social Business Excellence, and of course, executives around the world are listening into every one of his insightful and inspirational tweets. He's also a keynote speaker, and you can see him on Business TV around the world, and of course, catch his ZDNet column. But it's not about us. It's been about our awesome guests throughout the years, and we have a really awesome guest. Who do we have today to kick it off, Vala?
We have three extraordinary CEOs with us, and it's our privilege to have Aaron Levie, Chief Executive Officer, co-founder, and lead magician at Fox, which he launched in 2005 with CFO and co-founder Dylan Smith. Aaron is a visionary behind the Vox product and platform strategy, incorporating the best of secure content collaboration with an intuitive user experience suited to the way people work today. Aaron leads the company in its mission to transform the way people and businesses work so they can achieve their greatest ambitions. He's one of the best follows on Twitter at Levie. By the way, just think about what an early adopter. Levie, Levie. Welcome, Aaron, to DisrupTV.
Hey, thanks. Good to be here. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
We are so excited to have you. You founded the company in 2005. Could you have imagined a pandemic like this would happen and all your ideas are totally tested at the same time? Let's talk about what your vision was like in 2005 and which ones came true and which ones were surprised you since 2005.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We got two things right. We got one thing right and one thing wrong. Our vision was we thought the future was that you were going to work from anywhere, and that's the part we got right. The part we got wrong was we thought it was going to be because of BlackBerry devices. So what we ultimately discovered when as time went on was the growth of mobile and iPhones and iPads and cloud computing and all of these massive waves of transformation led to a new IT architecture that I think we all have benefited from in the past 18 months in this work from anywhere world. So while we had the vision that you should always be able to work on any device and from anywhere, we certainly never would have imagined in a million years that a pandemic would be the thing that would cause that to ripple through the entire planet. But here we are, certainly 18 months after the initial wave of the pandemic, and I think we've seen long-standing business transformation and change that is now going to be with us forever. And we think this is going to be obviously incredibly impactful for the future of work, the future of digital transformation, the future of business models. And at Box, we obviously want to help all of our customers be able to manage their most important data and content in the cloud.
Our research team at DisrupTV looked at 10 years of your tweets in preparation for this meeting.
I am sorry let me just apologize to that team for whatever exercise they had to go through.
No, but
some of the best tweets in the business.
Hands down, and I'm an avid follower. And you've been talking about digital transformation for a decade, before people even use digital transformation. In fact, in 2015, one of your tweets, one of my favorites, says, adding software to a broken process doesn't make it digital. The biggest challenge is reimagining the process, not writing the software. This was 6 years ago. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you tweeted, we're about to have a renaissance in enterprise software and IT. Every CIO I've chatted with in the past couple of months is embarking on significant digital transformation right now. Last year, the dam broke and it's a tidal wave. 6 years after, and we were talking about business model, not just monetization. Can you talk about digital transformation as you speak to the biggest brands, biggest companies, biggest CXOs? Are they really involved in new business model innovation? And I suspect the answer is yes. And what does that mean for a company that you've described as the content cloud? Yeah. What does that mean for Box and your customers?
Well, first of all, if you tweet enough things, a few of them might be right. So that was
you're a historian and you've been very accurate.
Yeah. So if I get enough following out there, you'll be able to look back and find ones that seemed insightful. But I don't know. This is sort of a funny situation trying to talk about digital transformation with Ray and Vala, because you guys obviously are front and center in this with so many businesses globally, and obviously Ray, your new book covers this I think in a through a prism that is pretty significant for every industry to be thinking about. But from our perspective, what we tend to find in Vala to the that initial kind of prompt is if you go back 5 or 10 years ago, what the thinking of digital transformation was, let's take our retail stores and let's build an e-commerce website on top of that. Let's take our let's take our car company and make it so you can buy cars digitally. Let's take our CPG brand and make sure that you can have a mobile app. And what we did was we just kind of created more menus to buy things and learn about things and get access to information. We didn't fundamentally re-engineer the actual service that gets delivered to the customer. And so, obviously, Ray, you've written a ton about this, but what Uber did was they said, well, you don't even need to own the car. And what we've seen from companies like Netflix is they say, well, you don't even need a cable subscription. We're going to reinvent how we get content to you. We're going to reinvent your the way you do ride sharing. We're going to reinvent the way you do hospitality. And that's obviously disrupted so many different industries. And so what I think the past year and a half has shown us is, previously this was sort of an academic intellectual exercise of, digital transformation, change your business model. And what we saw over the past year and a half was the companies that were able to thrive during the pandemic were ones that had previously re-engineered their business to be thinking about a digital first business model, including the underlying processes that they had to go and execute. So the banks that grew faster, the media companies that were able to better serve their customers and grow, the life sciences organizations that were able to have modern distribution channels and development methodologies. These are the companies that were able to get ahead. And obviously the tech sector were massive beneficiaries of that digital first wave as well. So what I think we're seeing and going forward is I think organizations from the CEO on down are going to be rethinking fundamentally, what business are you in? How do you re-engineer the underlying processes to get whatever value you offer to consumers out to your customers? And software is clearly going to be the delivery method for a lot of that value. And at Box, as the content cloud, what we want to do is help any of those business processes that deal with unstructured content. So if you're a media company and you want to go and produce a film, think about how much media content you have to be able to collaborate around. If you're a life sciences company and you want to re-engineer the way that you do clinical drug trials or clinical research, all of that data has to be able to be managed and secured. If you're a bank or an insurance company and you want to be able to onboard clients and get documents signed digitally, you want to be able to re-engineer that process. So our platform is meant to go help these companies be able to transform their business processes around content.
You know, this is so true. And what you're actually talking about is the fact that content is the heart of this digital transformation. When you tie it to a process, you tie it to an action, you get something very powerful on the other end. This isn't the file sharing company. This is something bigger than that. Now, you've been making acquisitions in the space as well to do that, right? And some of those acquisitions show us kind of a roadmap of what your vision is, because now you've got the content and you want to go take actions. You guys acquired a signature company.
Yep.
What's that all about?
Yeah, so Ray, sometimes it's not good for people to remember so many things. So if we could get rid of the file sharing part of our history, that'd be great. And
I don't know anything about that.
Exactly. Thank you.
I don't know anything about that.
So you've obviously watched the evolution, from a front row seat, and we've appreciated all of the attention and collaboration over the years. And you're exactly right. So we started the company to make it easy to access and share files from anywhere. But what we found was that there was a bunch of adjacent processes that really are fundamental to your content. So workflow automation, data security and compliance, e-signatures, being able to publish content to teams and departments, being able to have APIs that let you embed content into any application. So we've been dramatically expanding our platform so we can go and solve the complete life cycle of what content moves through from the moment that you create it to when you ultimately need to retain it for any kind of longstanding kind of governance policy or regulatory requirement. So we've been making acquisitions that will help us with each of the stages in that life cycle, as well as doing our own organic development. Earlier this year, we acquired an e-signature platform. This is one of the leading end user disruptors in the e-signature space, and that will be launching as Box Sign this summer for all of our customers. So we wanted to have a disruptive offering in the market where Box Sign will be available, included for all of our business customers in their subscriptions. So that's something that's going to be coming out soon. But we also have a pretty exciting roadmap around where the future of collaboration is going, or the future of intelligence around content. If you think about right now, when the world works with their data and their files, you're emailing files back and forth, or you're putting files inside of a network file share, or you're sending data through other means, you're not getting any intelligence or any insights from your content. So you don't know what marketing asset is performing the best, or what sales collateral customers are responding to, or what suppliers or partners are working with your information. So we think there's an all new era of analytics and insights and intelligence that you can generate from your information to be able to actually get more value from your data. So we fundamentally believe that the world runs on content. Businesses are powered by their content, and we are building the content cloud to help companies operate in a modern way.
I think it's a beautiful strategy. I think that what Box enables companies to do is deliver value at the speed of need. I think when you talk about these acquisitions, whether it's Box Sign or Box Relay, you're creating a frictionless environment where insights can be shared in real time so you can add value to your stakeholders when they need it at that moment of truth. And I believe that the ability for your company to do that is the strong emphasis you and your leadership put on design and simplicity. I'll go back to something you tweeted. Enterprise software design has always traditionally lagged consumer technology by years. Now we're regularly seeing enterprise software that is more thoughtful and simple than the consumer pace. We're still early, but this is an incredible trend. Talk to us in terms of why design is so important as you create the depth and breadth that Box now offers to clients.
Yeah, well, it's funny. When Ray and I met probably about 100 years ago, in sort of the dark ages of enterprise IT and enterprise software, we talked about this idea of consumerization of IT and the future of enterprise software, and you could start to see there were inklings. We were on the cusp of some new ideas emerging in the enterprise realm. You had David Sachs building out Yammer. We were seeing some interesting new approaches to consumer-oriented enterprise software, and the general theory was dead simple. Why is it that in our personal lives we get to work with amazingly simple technology on your iPhone?
2007. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So you're on your iPhone. You have Facebook. You have YouTube. And none of these technologies require any thought. They're dead simple to use. And then you go to the enterprise and you're in ERP systems and HR systems and workflow tools where you have to have user manuals and you have to have training, and it just made no sense. And so the theory was eventually these worlds are going to converge, and we're going to use the same design principles from the consumer software realm, and we're going to bring those into the enterprise. Now, it took probably about 15 years longer than I had thought for that to actually become a ubiquitous concept. But I believe we're very much in this new renaissance where we are all going to expect consumer experiences from all of our software, which will mean that the way that you run an enterprise software company is completely different than what we did in the 2000s or the and the 90s. And so we, at Box is just one example. All we do is hire consumer designers for our enterprise software. So our design team, as an example, would probably never have worked at another enterprise software company. But it's because we are building simple software for users that is incredibly powerful on the back end for the enterprise. That is what the future of design, that's what the future of consumer-oriented enterprise software is going to look like. And so what you have to do is build for the user, even though what you're really doing is ultimately selling to the enterprise and building an enterprise-grade platform. And it's that duality that we think makes enterprise software so much more exciting going forward.
That's a winning strategy. 100% agree. 100%.
No, we're definitely seeing a big shift, and it's not just in terms of your types of customers, but also what they're trying to do in digital transformation. So if you were to rethink where digital transformation is going, what you think companies and businesses are trying to accomplish, what do you say that what's different from even just 5 years ago?
Yeah, well, I think and Ray, just to again give it another shout out to your book. I think I think fundamentally you have to not think about it as you're building digital interfaces as your digital strategy. What you're doing is you're reinventing your business model and your underlying value to your customer. Digital just happened to be the sort of shortest path between consumers and whatever your product and service is, but digital enables you to change what that underlying product or service ends up being for the end client. And so we work with a lot of our customers to help them reimagine what is the underlying value proposition that you want to be able to have. If you're a bank, what are you trying to do in terms of create greater access to financial information and wealth information for your clients? If you're a life sciences company, what you're really trying to do is accelerate the collaboration on critical drug research so you can get new products to market faster. If you're a government, what you're trying to do is dramatically improve your access to services and information to citizens. So again, rethinking what are you in the business of doing? This is sort of a Clayton Christensen-esque question of like, what is the job to be done? And then how does digital accelerate your ability to deliver that ultimate value proposition or that job? And I think it's causing a lot of industries to rethink what is the job to be done. Disney is sort of, I think, one of the quintessential examples of a modern company that has disrupted themselves. What they did not see digital as a threat to them. They pivoted digital as an offensive move to say what we're really in the business of is entertaining as many people on the planet as possible. And digital is an opportunity to accelerate that vision as opposed to a disruptive force in our business. And now you can see all of the other media companies effectively employ the same strategy that Disney has pursued. So I think you're going to start to see, again, a lot of rethinking of what business are you really in and how does digital help you accelerate the delivery of that job to be done for your customers. And obviously, at Box and at Salesforce and so many other leading platforms, we're going to be in the business of creating the platforms that can help customers be able to go and accelerate those visions in their markets.
Yeah, and many of these platforms you referenced are going to be powered by machine learning and derivative sciences under the AI umbrella. Many people may not know the extent of Box's capabilities when it comes to machine learning. Can you talk about how you're directing your company to really become an intelligent content cloud, delivering insights in real time to stakeholders, and what that means for future for Box? Yeah,
so let me I'll give you like this stark comparison. So imagine, let's just go back 20 years just because it's the easiest stark comparison point. 20 years ago, if you were to work with your files, you'd be working with your files in a network file share. You'd be accessing your data from, a VPN. If you had to share a file, you'd be doing that over email. So think about all of those interactions. There's no telemetry. You don't get any feedback of what happened to your data, who accessed it, when did they access it, what did they do to that content. Now, fast forward 20 years, in Box, every single thing that you do with your file, we are able to track as an event that then you can correlate to be able to improve that business process or to be able to give you insights and analytics about your data. Or in the case of a security team, to be able to alert the security team if there's some unusual pattern of access to your data. So imagine, now obviously ransomware attacks are a significant threat to businesses. Imagine you start to see an unusual amount of data either being moved around or modified or manipulated. Wow. That would be an alert that would then be identified by the security team at a much faster rate than what you would have been able to do previously when you didn't have that kind of telemetry. So we're in a new era where we can actually help create all of this knowledge and be able to connect the dots between the different events that are happening with your data so you can make better decisions, so your business processes can be more fluid and more seamless. And then ultimately we can actually help you protect your content as well. So machine learning and some degree of artificial intelligence ends up being incredibly important to transforming how we work with our content in the cloud.
I love the potential of red team, blue teams using box-enabled analytics and forensics to be able to secure an enterprise. It's a must-have. Yeah. It's no longer a luxury. No. That's an incredible capability. Aaron, thank you so much for being a guest on Disrupt. It was incredible insights, and we look forward to sharing your insights with our audience. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Ray, Vala, good to see you guys.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, take care.
Terrific. Thank you. That was extraordinary. Ray, I don't know if you've got some wireless issues. I see a pseudo smiling Ray stuck on my screen. But we're going to move forward with our next guest. This is a show about extraordinary CEOs that are putting, as Steve Jobs would say, a dent in the universe. Our next guest is Jody Glidden, CEO of Introhive. Jody's co-founder, CEO of Introhive, founded in 2012. Introhive is the fastest growing B2B relationship intelligence and data management platform. The company was recently named to the Deloitte Fast 50 and Fast 500 list and was named the MarTech 2020 Breakthrough Award winner for Best CRM Innovation. Jody's an experienced business leader with startup tenacity, public company rigor, with innovative passion for technology. Introhive is the fifth company Jody has been involved in founding and building, with 3 successful exits, including Chalk Media, IC Global, and Scholars.com. Jody is passionate about products, machine learning, which we just talked about, we're going to talk about more, automation, sales technology, mobile-first social marketing, and course of engineering. You can follow Jody and other. Again, we only bring CEOs that are awesome on Twitter on our show. On Twitter at JodyGlidden. Welcome, Jody, to DisrupTV.
Great, thanks, Vala. I appreciate it. Yeah, wow, that's quite an introduction. I've been looking forward to doing this show for a long time.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show, and congratulations. You and your team just raised $100 million in your Series C, which is a significant, incredible milestone. Talk to us about the milestone and the excitement and the passion and vision you have growing Introhive.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've been a 9-year overnight success. We took a few years to really get off the ground because we had to build out this really extensive sort of underlying layer to make all of the AI work the way that we want it. But essentially, we think that in the future, sales teams will need 2 types of systems. One is the system where you put all your stuff, the CRM, and then the system that makes all the salespeople reach their peak potential, gives them all the information they need, and takes all the work off their plate. So that's what we've been working on. The $100 million is just a phenomenal thing for us because it's going to help us accelerate things so much faster.
A lot of the research that I've looked at in the space of line of business and sales is how little time sales professionals are actually selling. So much research, so much, maintaining systems so that they can create a team sport atmosphere in terms of how they serve clients. Can you talk about what is the business problem that Introhive is trying to address?
Yeah, really. So you hear of the old adage, should you work harder or should you work smarter? And really what they're saying is, under work harder, they mean, are you putting in enough man hours? And in the case of sales, it's like, are you putting in actually enough sales hours? Well, salespeople are extremely distracted because they're asked to, go to a meeting, collect all the business cards in the real world or alternatively in the digital world, but enter all those contacts into a system, do the same thing with their meetings, with their deals, move things along through the pipeline. They have a job that's, a third of the time data entry, And then the rest of the time they have to organize themselves, get smart, and speak to customers. So it's really just not the most efficient way to go. What we do is we take all that work off their plate. We do it automatically using the system. Turns out machines are better at data entry than people are. And then the great thing about it is we can also bring them all the intelligence that they need. I don't know if we've all had these like frustrating experiences with sales interactions where, one really easy example is you make a call, you talk to a salesperson about all of your experience, everything that you're looking for, give them all your requirements, and they say, great, just hang on 1 second, and they transfer you to somebody else and you do it all over again. So I just think that we have the ability to bring all the things that people need for whatever type of selling job they have, all the intelligence about who you're speaking to, what that company is, are they in the news, who in my company might know them really well, what deals I have going on, and all the other things that salespeople are expected to know. But why not just bring it to them in that actual selling moment? So right before they have a meeting, just as they pick up the phone when somebody calls or whatever the thing might be.
That's great. In real-time contextual intelligence that's personalized, that's fast, that's relevant. Every line of business can benefit from that. Certainly, I ran services business for 10 years. I would love my agents to have that same context, because there's nothing more frustrating from a customer's point of view when you have to repeat yourself and you're impacted by friction in the process or friction in lack of understanding and insights to get to a solution as fast as possible. Ray, right. Welcome back. I'll follow up with a question, and just for continuity, you talked about machines being better, faster, and I completely agree with you. When I think of algorithms, I think about it's your thoughts, your beliefs, codified. So if there are biases that exist in your beliefs, and if there are blind spots that exist, well, that's going to make it into your algorithms, and now you're doing things faster, but perhaps drifting away from your brand promise. So when we talk about AI ethics, which is a white hot topic because people are afraid of over automating and really drifting away from their brand promise and core values, what are your thoughts coming from a CEO of a company that's absolutely an AI driven company?
Yeah, it's a good point. We've been writing about the topic of AI ethics recently. It is a topic that people ask about a lot. The issue, I think, is that when people don't design it's not a problem with AI itself, it's a problem with how the algorithms are designed. So if you're saying that you want the AI to basically focus on maximizing revenue at all costs, bad things will happen. It's kind of like the Terminator scenario, right? You have to optimize for all of the goals that you want, including, like, for example, we're working with companies. We're actually using our AI and our relationship graph to help drive not just revenue, but also diversity in organizations. So you can, it turns out you can spot the high potential, previously underserved folks like females and other minorities before they get to those executive levels. You can measure the connectivity between those high potential people and the executives, and then you can use the AI to actually drive the right behaviors that you're looking for, like getting them together for relationship building events. And that, as it turns out, is one of the best ways to drive diversity. So that's just an example of using AI to point people in the right direction.
Great example.
That's a great example. And when you think about what your capabilities are, not just the ability to actually deliver on AI ethics or, put in the right testing that's in place, we typically think about AI ethics as, having transparent algorithms, right? And then being able to figure out, if those algorithms make sense, can we reverse them? Can we actually figure out where they go in the future and how do you build upon them? That's just part one of all this, right? We're entering a world where it's not just the AI, it's analytics, automation, and AI all coming together. And when you think about that bigger vision of Introhive, right, it's really about, do we have enough data to make that happen, right? Is it precise enough? Right? You think about it, like, 90% accuracy in manufacturing, people are like, yeah, that might be okay. What about 90% accuracy in healthcare? It's like, no, that's not good enough. Even though your doctor might only be 87% accurate, who knows, right? So what are you doing with that? Like, how are you helping folks figure out how to get more data, how to build that into place where they don't have data? Because that's a lot of the problems. I mean, you've seen that a lot of the algorithms were built in the 80s, right? And there's finally got the data to even test them. I mean, that's the exciting part about where we are in AI. So how do you get them enough data to get there?
Well, we have, it was a big problem with AI systems in general in the last, I'd say 10, even 5 years ago, where people were they had really great ideas, like let's say picking the right opportunities to focus on. But there's so much missing data that the predictions, as it turned out, were not very good. And we have this in every problem in AI. So another good example is if you were driving this Tesla self-driving car and you covered half the cameras, you're probably going to go off the road.
Yes. Yep.
And so what we focused on first, and as part of the reason why it took us a few years before we even made our first sale, was we focused on the data first. Like, get all of the data filled in as much as you possibly can, and you can actually use AI for that problem as well. Once you do that, all of a sudden, our software will work better, but any software will work better. It's just a matter of, you can't get good predictions with bad data.
Right.
Great point.
Right. And I think the importance is for advanced systems to not only be able to go from descriptive use of analytics with charts and graphs that do year-over-year, quarter-over-quarter comparisons, to diagnosing why things happen, diagnostic use of analytics for forecast accuracy and win-loss data, and to ultimately using algorithms to make predictions, but then graduating to a point where you're prescribing, the system is telling you what to do right now, prescriptive use of analytics. So a sales professional has, intelligent methodology in terms of not only improving decision velocity, but doing things that we think historically has led us to a better win-loss performance and accelerating the sales cycle. Where do you see the use of your solutions and having clean data in terms of organizations being able to get to a point where the system is helping and prescribing next best action for sales professionals? So even if they're spending only a third of their time, it's the right jobs to be done, as Aaron said, our prior guest, during that 33% that they're actually selling.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, we're big proponents of jobs to be done ourselves, and we that's how we really do everything that we do. But what we do, we really do it in two ways. Once we had the data kind of solved for companies, we focused on looking at the trends using AI between sales reps that are best performing versus sales reps that are, say, worst performing, and also the deals that moved fastest and the deals that moved slowest. And we look at the patterns and machines can notice this an awful lot better than a great sales leader can go based on their gut. and they can pick out the actual things. Like in our company, it might be, hey, did you know that at this stage of the sales cycle, when you're selling into this type of customer, typically if you bring this certain person to the meeting, things move faster. Or maybe you should have brought the CFO. You should be selling to the CFO by now, or whatever the tip might be. Or maybe the person you're speaking to reacts better with a phone call versus email. But these are all the kinds of things that the system can notice because we're looking at broad swaths of data and complete data.
It's amazing because the research that I've recently looked at says in the B2B sales motion, the average buying decision team is 10 strong. This is average in B2B. And it was mid-enterprise and greater, the research I was looking at. So 10 strong, so that's 10 personas. There are folks like Ray and I where, as a former buyer practitioner, 90% of my buying process was independent research and collaboration with like-minded executives. Maybe 10% I would be with a vendor where I would want a proof of concept or a demo, but frankly, the process was way towards the end before I would engage with a vendor. So it was a lot of independent research and collaboration. And there were other maybe traditional executives where you would go to events, you would speak to analysts, and you would do a demo and so on and so forth. My point is, how do you deliver the right value across the right channel at the right time to 10 different personas who each have different buying process maps without machine learning and algorithms? Like, I don't see how companies can manually do this. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how you could do it.
And you think of, like, in the 90s, people kept file folders, right? And somebody would come in and you'd be like, oh, okay, take the notes from the meeting, throw it in a folder. We use Lotus 1, 2, 3 for pipeline management. Yeah, it was crazy. And now, we divide things up so granularly. So marketing is dealing with people at the start. They hand them over to a sales development rep who hands it over to, the field rep, and so on and so on. There's so many points of contact on our side. Once they buy, they get handed over to a customer success rep if it's a recurring deal, and support folks. And somehow you need to make sure that the customer journey makes sense
Right.
to the buyer and to each person in the buying group. So yeah, I think organizing it all professionally and with data makes sense, and you shouldn't put all that burden on the salesperson.
Right.
So what do we do next? What's next for AI? I mean, what's the next big breakthrough people are trying to get to? Is it a higher level of precision? Is it, something that changes the way, we look at, how ethics are integrated? Is it just easier kind of like, dynamic feedback loops that come into play, or do algorithms self-generate themselves? Are we at that point yet where these CNNs are actually doing that? What do you think? I mean, you're smack in the middle of this.
Yeah, I kind of feel a little bit like Aaron previously, that we keep thinking we're almost there, and we still have like decades to go because we're still kind of scratching the surface on just helping businesses go as optimally as they can, and at the same time you have people doing miraculous things, but really just scratching the surface in the medical field with medical diagnoses, and now they're getting to the point where those are more accurate than what the doctor can do or radiologist can do on their own. We're seeing the same thing in legal next, where it's more complex, but people are getting to the point where they're saying that they think that drafting of contracts and reading of contracts can even be done better by a machine in the future. And then the technology itself is really getting amazing, where it takes us as AI builders, it takes us less work in order to produce the same amount of performance and everything. So yeah, I'm really excited about what's going to happen over the next decade or two.
If we can ingest enough, I'll call it, I think I'm making up a word, but like firmographic data, if we get enough data about the businesses that exist across multiple sectors, and we can calculate the TAM, and we understand the social graph in terms of the leadership, the performance of the company. We can look at all the unstructured data on social. We can get tone, sentiment, health, and eventually really understand organizations that are target prospects and potential customers. Will the hunting function in sales eventually be automated extensively in the next decade? I think about 80% of NASDAQ trading autonomously.
Yeah.
Not the relationship part where you absolutely need to have obviously us involved, but the hunting part, the prospecting part. How much of that do you think in the next decade will be automated?
I think quite a lot. We look at the way you drive revenue is really three things. So revenue, retention, and relationships. And really, we think that in the future, so much of those first two categories are going to be automated, and the part that will be left will be the human element, because that's the part that makes the difference. It's the part that the machine can't do, and really, it's the part that salespeople like to do. And in the end, if all other things are equal, if you have two people that are selling equivalent, let's say accounting services or equivalent software that's roughly equivalent, then in the end, it's going to come down to the relationship. And we think that, having a broad amount of relationships like we all do, sometimes if you actually look at your phone and scroll through, you're probably going to find 1,000 to 5,000 people in there, a lot that you probably haven't been keeping in contact with, and some that might be in some really great places right now. It's really difficult to make sense of that and just keep an eye on it. And people, like machines, can actually help you with the human element as well, which a lot of people overlook.
Right. So I think the fear should not be that the sales professional is going to be displaced by an AI algorithm. It's likely that if you're competing for jobs, you may be competing against a sales professional who's proficient using AI-powered application. That's your biggest threat. So don't be in the game and not know how to leverage these intelligent tools to do your job. Because ultimately, I think the winning professional is the one that's very comfortable and understands that you can augment intelligence using applications that are powered by ML to do things faster and smarter.
Yeah, that's right. If you look at we had a long time ago, people used to talk about intelligence, and there was really only one intelligence they were talking about at the time. And then maybe 2 decades ago, people started talking about emotional intelligence, and that was really the human element and how we interact with people. And then, lately people are talking about relationship intelligence, and what they mean by that is how our organization as a whole is interacting with the outside world, and are they bringing that human element to all of, to people in the most optimal way possible. That's the part that really, I think you really need systems in order to organize you, in order to reach the potential that you can get.
Jody, I love that relationship intelligence. I'm going to use that. That's great. That is absolutely the North Star. Yeah.
No, and one of the things that as you're building upon that relationship intelligence, I mean, what's really exciting is that, maybe my bot's actually interacting with Vala's bot. And they build relationships we haven't even thought about. Right?
Ray's looking to remove me with a bot on Disrupt at some point. When there's,
I need a bot for cloning at the rate I'm going at this moment. But yeah. No, but it's definitely pretty, really exciting. Hey, one last question for you, Jody, and of course, congratulations, awesome funding round, lots of interest, especially in this area. What's the tech scene like for you, startup scene? Are you having trouble recruiting? Is it tough still? Is it tough finding enterprise salespeople? That seems to always be the challenge for everybody. Like, what's hot and what are you recruiting and hiring for? What kind of folks do you need so when people can reach out, and we'll leverage this network to help you get some folks hired?
Yeah, so we doubled our sales team in the last 2 quarters, and we have to double it again in the next 2 quarters. We're growing at a phenomenal pace. It's really, sales and marketing is one of our biggest focuses right now. We just really have to help get the word out. So if you know people that you think are great, definitely send them our way. We're based. We have 2 headquarters. One is in Eastern Canada, and I'm in Miami. There's really though, we take remote workers wherever they are. We say that our headquarters is really in the cloud.
That's very true. How did I miss you in Miami? I was just there for the Bitcoin conference. I just missed you on the tail end. So. Oh
yeah, next time look me up for sure.
So
Miami's really hot. Miami, lots of folks are moving to Miami.
Mayor Suarez has done a lot for the region for sure.
It's just been, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get
him. How can I help?
Tell him to come by. So we're here with Jody Glidden, CEO of Introhive. You can follow him on Twitter at Jody Glidden, and of course, a pioneer in AI. And definitely check him out. His company's on fire. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
Woo! Wow, we are flying.
Yeah.
We got these 2 awesome.
And of course, our cleanup hitter spot is with 2 extraordinary individuals that are going to expand our minds yet again. It's our privilege to introduce, I have 2 introductions, so bear with me. And I go as fast as I can. We have Dr. Jonathan Reichental, founder of Human Future and author, and Brett Hoffstadt, engineer and author. I'll start with Dr. Reichental. Is the founder of Human Future, a global business and technology advisory, investment, and education firm. Previous roles have included senior software engineer, manager, director of technology innovation. I met him when he was CIO at a city of Palo Alto in California. Dr. Reichental is recognized global thought leader, award-winning, too many awards to list. I only have 20 minutes. Award-winning CIO, and with incredible expertise in urban innovation, smart city, sustainability, blockchain technologies, data governance, and much more. He is a popular keynote speaker. His last book was amazing. I got so much great feedback on social media with your Smart Cities book, and without even a tour. Unlike Ray, who was going around the tour, Dr. Reichental's book tour in 2020, obviously because of the pandemic, was canceled. So he had an incredibly successful book, even without an opportunity to market it. So that tells you about the book. You can follow Dr. Reichental on Twitter at Reichental, REICHENTAL. Welcome to Jonathan. Welcome to DisrupTV. And our next guest is Brett Hoffstadt, engineer and author. Brett has a unique fusion of technology and creative background with achievements in aeronautic engineering, project management, corporate innovation initiatives, and music composing. As a project manager at Boeing, he organized Shark Tank events to get executives as sharks to hear employees and foster innovation and culture of building there at Boeing. His first book, published in 2014, was How to Be a Rocket Scientist. He also wrote an authoritative book on using drones in civil engineering, where has become most passionate about creating children's book on helping STEM and STEAM, the arts part of it, topics, as evidenced by his partnership with Dr. Reichental to create a new book that's coming, which we're going to talk about on the show. He also has an upcoming book, Goodnight Moonbase, which is scheduled for November. You can follow Brett on Twitter at Brett Rocket Sci, BRETTROCKETSCI. Welcome, Jonathan and Brett, to DisrupTV.
Thank you, guys. Honor to be here. Yeah.
Thanks
for your show.
There's the book. Exploring
Look
Smart
at that.
Cities.
It just pops up like that.
Yeah,
huh?
that's awesome.
It's amazing. I mean, hey, but here's the interesting thing. You guys have been talking about smart cities for quite some time, and and you've taken this, right, I mean, into another level, I mean, to the world of children's books. But before we talk about that, let's talk about what's going on in smart cities. I mean, were they accelerated because of the pandemic? Were they in decline because of the pandemic? Could it be both? Like, tell us what happened, and I'd love to hear from your point of view.
Yeah, no, that's great to be on again. Thanks for all the plugging of this new book. We definitely saw a downturn in investment and activities around smart cities during COVID. But I think we also learned about the importance of cities and the importance of things like fast internet, right? And so now, as we begin to be hopeful, we emerge out of this crisis, the focus is back on. And in fact, what I'm seeing as I work with cities around the world is an acceleration. It's now a cliche, but it's also applicable in government. We've seen, in 10 months, 10 years of digital innovation in government, really rapid adoption of cloud solutions for the first time. Very happy to hear that. Rapid adoption of video, of course, and a whole range of new innovation that can help cities operate under, all sorts of conditions. What I'm really excited about actually is some of the ways that mayors are thinking about redesigning their cities. And I want to just tell you one quick story. This is a really great one. You're likely very familiar, and you may have visited the Champs-Élysées, which is the main avenue down through Paris. And it's a beautiful street. It's got trees, got fancy cafes and stores and things. What's happened though with this street, just like so many very popular streets around the world, is there's a lot of pollution, a lot of noise, a lot of traffic, some accidents. There's difficulties. So the mayor, working with a number of teams, has said, we're going to transform the Champs-Élysées, and they're going to transform it into what's called an urban garden, right? So they're basically going to make roads, cars, a very small part of this street. It's mainly going to be green areas, lots more trees. There's going to be plants. And even more interesting, there's going to be vegetable gardens that people can work on. So this is going to happen over the next 5 to 6 to 7 years to be completed. And if you look at the drawings and the vision, it is going to transform Paris. That, to me, is what the smart and sustainable city movement is beginning to look like.
That's fantastic. So I'm curious to know how the conversation started with you and Brett in terms of expanding the knowledge about cities to include young readers.
Yeah.
And why that's important.
Well, I'll give credit to Brett. He approached me, so I'm going to let him answer that question.
Okay. Well, so I've been a advocate of smart cities along with all of the related technologies, Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles. I really believe we need to transform our cities and our world to take advantage of these technologies and make them serve people for good. And I heard about Jonathan through his book, Smart Cities for Dummies. So I was a fan of that. There it is. Yep. And so this has been on my radar for a long time, ever since I had started making children's books about different STEM topics. I thought smart cities would be great to do, and now I found Jonathan with his Smart Cities book. I said, if there's one guy to do this with, he would be the perfect guy to do it. So I reached out to him on LinkedIn, and he can tell then his experience with his first book about how why he thought this would be a great idea.
Absolutely. And when you do that, Jonathan, when we talk about your incredible book, which is foundational to the next book, focused on activities for kids. So as part of my I don't want to say giving back, but because I enjoy it so much, I talk to a lot of students, universities in the Boston area and throughout the States. Probably 50 talks throughout the year to different institutions. But my hardest is when an elementary school in Roxbury in Boston invited me to speak at the Timothy School, middle school, to a bunch of 9, 10, 11-year-olds. And I realized I can't use jargon, even like marketing, or CRM, or So it was so challenging for me to spend an hour with these kids because I really had to apply a filter to all and you just don't realize how much jargon and business acronyms you use. So when you and Brett are partnering, you're trying to decompose this or bring the greatness of this book to a younger. I'm assuming it's difficult. Although Brett's an expert in this area, so I'm sure he coached you. But can you talk a little bit about that as well? Because my hardest talk was being in front of a bunch of middle schoolers.
Yeah, and they won't let you get away with BS.
No,
they'll call you out. Yeah, that's for sure. I love that. So two parts, two questions here. One was, building on what Brett said. I thought it was important based on his proposal. I was flattered to be asked and thrilled to work with Brett. The book was addressing adults, my Smart Cities for Dummies.
Sure. I
I had learned, by the way, anecdotally from lots of people that their kids love the book too. This was a surprise. But look, the sort of bigger, more meaningful thing for us is that we want to start kids thinking about things like recycling, things like waste management, clean energy. We think it's important that they have more fun learning in that area. Now, it aligns really well with many national, or I should say regional curriculums. We've learned that. So it's complementary to the work that parents and teachers do. Now, to your second question, which is about words, and we discovered something interesting. So we wrote the book, and we try to be as careful as we could be to make sure it was talking at the language of children. And then we had a number of teachers review it, and that's very important.
Oh, terrific.
And the overwhelmingly, they loved it, but they gave us some really constructive feedback. And a lot of it was about the words. You were absolutely right, Vala. And that we ended up creating this rather elaborate glossary. So anytime there's a word that may be unusual, we reference it. You think, for example, that the word innovation comes up many times in the book. Kids don't actually know what the word innovation is. And
many adults don't know what innovation is.
That's true. Good point.
True. There'll be fun learning for adults in the book too. Probably. It's a good compliment for his Smart Cities for Dummies book.
You've written the book for so many levels, right? And I think the activities, what's interesting about it is the way you set up the activities. It actually allows the parents and the kids to work with each other to go out and see what's happening. And I think that's a very, very powerful element of what you guys have done in the book. So are schools adopting it? Is there a way to get this into curriculums? Are people starting to look at it? Are there like lessons plans that are happening there?
Brad, do you want to take that?
Well, we would love for this to benefit teachers and students in schools. And we do, as Jonathan mentioned, there are actually city and community units in grade school levels for kindergarten, first and second grade. So we really hope this would be a perfect supplement for those units. So we would be happy to talk with teachers to find out how this could help their classrooms. And so I encourage them to go right here to our website, smartcitybook.com/kids. They can get in touch with us there. And then we'd love to have a conversation, and we'd love, I'm sure I speak for Jonathan, to find a way to provide bulk copies of the book, for districts or for homeschoolers, whoever it might be.
Complement the book with digital properties on this website. Like if you find that you have a community of young readers, will there be like the word of the week on your website where they can continue to learn about these big fancy words that adults use that they'll be exposed to in later years in schools? What are your thoughts in terms of a vibrant website that can help keep the community engaged and sharing as they read your book?
Yeah, so we're thinking about that a lot, and we have some initial ideas. The focus right now is on the book, of course.
Yeah, get the book out, right.
If you go to our smartcitybook.com/kids, it's really right now just a landing page, and you can register and learn some minimum things. But the minute the book comes out, which is a few weeks away, sometime later in the summer, that will convert to a fully fledged environment over time. And we love what you're talking about. It's very much aligned with what we're thinking about in terms of additional exercises and deeper dives on the topic. To the extent that we can engage kids and parents, as you probably can guess, that's complicated. But we're not shy about those things. And so like everything else today, we're not just building a single book. I think our goal is to actually create an ecosystem a number of learning experiences. So that really is the bigger picture. Can we get kids up to speed on this topic?
Yeah.
And maybe we're talking about future leaders and children who think really differently about the kind of world we want to live in, not the world that we do live in.
That's awesome.
gonna
My
be like a
11-year-old
future
is
congressman.
looking forward to the read. He just graduated from elementary school, and he was recognized as likely to be president of a nonprofit organization. So I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, he's looking forward to the read.
Oh my goodness!
So it's going to be great. I appreciate
there's
you guys.
There's going to
writing
be
the book.
some future congressman that said like,
Yeah.
I read this book when I was a kid. This
Wouldn't that be
exploring
amazing?
smart cities book is pretty amazing. What are we going to do? But hey, let's read some passages from this thing. I think this is going to be a bestseller. I think we launch around the same week. I'm scared.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm not sure.
Let's get some
Hopefully in a
passages out
different
here.
category. I'm not sure how many children are going to read Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
No, everyone's going to be reading Jonathan's book. We crushed. So.
Well,
right.
we're going to have Brett read one of the rhymes, and then I'll read one. But I did want to give you a little background of what the rhymes are related to.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
a quick story: when we were putting the book together, doing the initial drafting, we had sort of more of a narrative, like it was going to be, very much on the left side of the page. The reason here, solar power is important because, And one day I was looking at our entire narrative, and I just had this idea: what would happen if I rhymed one of them, made it into a rhyme? So I did it. It was hard. I'm not used to doing that. So I talked to Brett and I said, what do you think? He read it, and so that's kind of has potential. We ended up rhyming the entire book. So you learn, but the rhymes are a little bit funny, but informative. And then on the right side, we have activities. So you've coloring, you've mazes, connected dots, cryptograms, you name it. It's the stuff that kids love. So what we're going to share with you now are just a couple of the rhymes. So Brett, did you want to take one?
That's great. Yeah. And so just to emphasize, what I love now, what this book has turned into is really two books in one. It's a story with a narrative that goes through the history of cities, in fact, and cities today, and then smart cities, the cities of the future, with activities along the way. So we hope that this will be a book that people and kids and families can enjoy for a long time, more than once, even after the activities are done. So, all right, so here's one from the early part about the origin of cities. Cities are different from villages and towns. You're unlikely to hear farm animal sounds. Cities have many more people and take up lots of space. Look out the window. Is that your neighbor's face? So, how's that?
I haven't heard it out loud before.
On TikTok. This is awesome.
It's awesome. That is so cool.
You take the next one, Jonathan.
Here's another one. That was actually a nice, funny one. I love that you did that one, Brett. Here's a little bit more serious, but also a bit of fun. The rhyme's called "Technology to the Rescue." Sensors, smartphones, and various computers. These are technologies that are defining our futures. Technology can be good or bad, depends on where you sit. In our smart city future, let's make sure that's a benefit.
Wow.
Cute, right?
This is really good.
What a creative approach, knowing that the retention is far greater when you can actually create the narrative with rhymes. Ray, you should have thought about that.
I know. It just doesn't work, man.
You guys, Brett and John, you guys have raised the bar. Wow.
Maybe there's a kids book version of your book coming up, Ray. What do you think?
Kids rule the world.
We'll have to re-engineer or completely transform
amazing.
that one. This is great. This is great.
Wow.
So,
by the way, it's a
talk
scoop.
about-
This is a scoop for you guys. You're the first media that we are on talking about the book. So we love you guys. Yeah.
we're
What a
going to be
privilege.
replaying this forever.
No, really, truly a privilege. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
So in the book, right, when you think about this, right, like where can folks, is it going to be available? Are you publishing? Like, what's the release date? What should we know about
How can
this?
you buy it? You have your website, so smartcitybook.com kids. That's where you go, I suspect.
Right. Yeah. Just recommend people go to our website, smartcitybook.com/kids, and you'll sign up to know when it's published. We have a target date. It'll definitely be in late summer. So we're thinking now end of August, maybe early September, and it will be available on Amazon. We have plans to have it published in other formats and venues, and actually maybe Jonathan can say this, the interest, even from the previews and excerpts people have seen so far, has been so good. We are talking with people to have it published in foreign languages already. So Spanish will be first, probably. And there's people across the world that are interested to have it for people in their country.
Good luck rhyming it in different languages. That's awesome.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great holiday gift. I mean, it's fun. It's family oriented with activities. It's educational. I think you've hit all the check marks. So that's terrific. Well, we're certainly looking forward to it. And we've got two anxious readers, my son and I, for sure, looking forward to reading and sharing. Ray, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say this is amazing. Folks, check out the book. We're here with Jonathan Reichental, founder of Human Future and author, and of course, Brett Hoffstadt, engineering author. He's at Carb. You can follow him on Twitter at Reichental, and of course, Brett at Brett Rocket Sci, all together at once. Of course, thank you so much. And we look forward to reading the book and sharing that with our kids and, of course, other folks around the world. And please stay in the green room because I got an idea for you that we'll talk about.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks.
Hey, thanks a lot for being on the show. Happy Friday.
Amazing to see all of you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you as well. Thank you. That was awesome. Do you imagine? Wow, rhyme, graphics, complex topics,
It's
smart
so
cities.
hard stuff. The stuff to do, it's almost impossible.
That's
But
amazing.
we got some great conversations today. A lot of stuff going on in general. Who do we have next week? We're on episode 242, and there's some crazy folks showing up.
Put on your seatbelts, get your popcorn ready for next week, because we have three truly extraordinary people and folks that I really admire and learn from on Twitter. Chris Michael, an inaugural artist in residence at the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. He's an incredible entrepreneur and philosopher, one of the best photographers I know on Twitter. We have Om Malik, founder of GigaOM and award-winning journalist. And it's likely we'll have Chris and Om on at the same time because they're incredible friends and collaborators, and I think they're going to riff off each other, and we're going to enjoy it. So it'll be a different format, I think, for next week with our first two guests. And of course, a Thinkers 50 legend, McGrath, professor at Columbia Business School and founder of Valise. And she's, again, an extraordinary innovation, leadership, business management thinker. And so all three are remarkable people, just like the four remarkable guests we had today. Ray, your closing thoughts on, three CEOs and two authors for our show this week.
Hey, I'm just really thankful that the DisrupTV network is so fun, inspirational, innovative. I'm glad everyone gets a chance to kind of connect and get a chance to listen to this like live and of course throughout the weekends on our podcast. And just excited to see everyone. I'm in the middle of the book tour. This is the pre-order book tour, and I've had a chance to just connect with people, including you, everybody out in Boston, and it's just nice. And I think, with all these, people had time to sit back, put their thoughts on a paper, share their ideas, and now they're just going around sharing them with everybody in person, along with being online. And I think this is going to be just an exciting period over the next 12 months. What about you?
I appreciate your book tour. This is your best work to date. There's a great amount of buzz around your book. With your Boston book tour, the folks that were in the book tour spent an hour after you were done talking about your book. That's how I know there's a buzz. So, there's just energy behind it. There's incredible wisdom that comes from 10,000 discussions over the last 3 years from some of the best and brightest representing the BT 150 group. And so there's hardcore evidence-based book that speaks to the future. And I think that if you ignore the book, you put yourself at a disadvantage. So anyway, congratulations to you. I think it's going to be a phenomenal success. And I'm just proud to know a best-selling author, so it's cool.
Well, hey everybody, thank you for being here. If it's Friday, it's DisrupTV, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, almost every Friday. If you got suggestions for guests, please let us know. Always taking suggestions. We are booked out a little bit towards August, and would love to have anyone here as we pick up the fall season. So thanks a lot, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Happy Friday.